All things in the world have predetermined fates, yet the path of human life is filled with constant change. When a storm of fate strikes, is there a compassionate hand guiding us unseen in the depths of destiny? For thousands of years, Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva has compassionately and mercifully saved sentient beings, possessing 1,000 hands and eyes, omnipresent everywhere. The Buddhist sutras state, if countless beings in the hundreds of thousands, millions, billions, and beyond endure various sufferings and hear the world-honored one chanting the name of Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva with a single heart, Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, upon hearing their voices, grants liberation. However, the heavenly realms are impermanent. The dharma of conditions is profound and subtle. Those with affinity will be saved, while those without affinity will fall into suffering. When the heavenly path chooses to save and transform a person, what signs will appear? How will the heavens remind those destined souls? At the end of the Eastern Han dynasty, amidst raging winds and fires, the world was in great chaos. A young man named Liu Ying walked along the rugged mountain path, his clothes tattered and his face haggard. His steps were heavy, his gaze dim, like a solitary soul abandoned by fate. Just 3 months ago, Liu Ying was a renowned talent in the city of Luoyang, born into a scholarly family with a vast fortune. He was proficient in military classics and passed the provincial imperial examination at the age of 20. His future was bright and promising. However, a sudden outbreak of war completely destroyed his world. The father died amidst chaotic battles, the mother passed away from sorrow, and the wife and young son were separated during their flight, their fate unknown. The hawk raised its head, gazing at the overcast sky, and a deep sigh escaped its throat. Why is the heavens so unjust? Throughout my life, I have steadfastly adhered to the Confucian way, diligently practicing the virtues of filial piety, brotherly respect, loyalty, and faithfulness. Why then have I met such a fate? As dusk deepened, dark clouds piled up like mountains on the horizon, as if ready to pour down at any moment. Liu Ying looked around in all directions, searching for a place to take shelter from the rain. At that moment, a bolt of lightning tore through the darkness, illuminating a nearby valley. After the lightning disappeared, Liu Ying was astonished to find a tranquil courtyard in the valley, which she had completely overlooked before. Strangely, just now the courtyard was clearly not visible. Could it be that his exhaustion led to hallucinations? Ling Yingxin was filled with doubt, yet eager to seek shelter from the rain, he stepped toward the courtyard. Ancient trees tower around the courtyard, while a low, simple fence encloses it. A clear stream winds gently nearby. By the stream stood a man clad in a plain white robe, collecting water. Under the moonlight, his figure seemed transcendent and otherworldly, like a visitor from beyond the heavens. Hearing the sound of footsteps, he turned around. His appearance was exquisitely elegant, his eyes as clear as autumn waters, and the corners of his mouth held a slight smile. Why does the young master walk alone in the deep of night? But have you lost your way? The woman's voice was gentle, like a wild breeze caressing the surface of a lake, bringing a sense of peace to the mind. In a daze, Liu Ying felt the voice was vaguely familiar. He cupped his hands in salute and said, "I am Liu Ying. I'm not lost, just with nowhere to go." At the end of the speech, the voice was choked and the eyes were slightly reddened. The man in white gazed intently at Liu Ying for a moment. Having nowhere else to go, yet arriving here, he must be connected with the Buddha. The sky is already dark, and there are many fierce beasts in the mountains. Young master, why not enter inside to rest for a while? Liu Ying glanced at the sky heavy with dark clouds and nodded in gratitude. The man led him through a bamboo gate into a humble thatched hut. The interior was simply furnished, yet immaculately clean. In the center, there is a statue of Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva enshrined, whose compassionate visage and transcendent, refined expression between the brows and eyes bears striking resemblance to the white-robed man. A sudden jolt struck Liu Ying's heart as she abruptly recalled having seen this Bodhisattva statue in a dream, leaving her momentarily frozen in place. "What's the matter, young master?" The woman in white poured a cup of hot tea for Liu Ying and handed it to him. The tea's fragrance is subtle and elegant, its taste sweet upon entering the mouth. A warm current slowly flows from the throat into the heart, and Liu Ying feels a long-lost sense of peace. He took a sip of tea and smiled wryly, saying, "I was born into Confucian Shakyamuni, always admiring the principle that a gentleman attains enlightenment through understanding the root. When the root is established, the way comes forth. Yet, I never imagined that one day I would step into the Buddhist path. All phenomena in the world arise from causes and conditions." The woman in white smiled and said, "I am a humble monk named Jingxin, temporarily residing here, having already guided those fated to encounter the Dharma. If the young master has arrived here before the storm, it must be due to a predestined connection with the Buddha." The term Yuan, as spoken by the Buddha, refers to those with karmic connection or people with predestined affinity. It signifies individuals who are spiritually connected through past actions and causes, making them receptive to the Buddha's teachings and able to encounter the Dharma under favorable conditions. Liu Ying set down her teacup and asked, realizing that her inner sorrow and agitation gradually calmed in the presence of this meditative Dharma sister. Venerable Jingxin's gaze was calm and serene, as clear as water, fixed intently upon Liu Ying. A person with karmic affinity is one who is favored by the celestial path. Suffering is not a punishment, but a natural law of cause and effect. If the heavens intend to save you, they will naturally give you a sign. Liu Ying felt a sudden shock in his heart, then gave a bitter smile. If the heavens truly favored me, why have they allowed my family to be destroyed, my wife and children scattered? I can barely protect myself, let alone be saved or transformed. Young master, please look outside the window. Calm your mind and focus not on your turmoil, but on the ancient tree beyond the window. Liu Ying followed the direction of his finger and saw a towering ancient pine tree. The middle of its trunk was fractured and broken, yet at the broken section, dozens of tender shoots had sprouted anew, glowing with the vibrant green of new life under the moonlight. The tree had already stood for 100 years, but last year it was struck by lightning and broken. The world believed it would wither and die. Who would have thought that this spring it would sprout new buds again, embodying the serene posture of stillness and calm? The twilight is profound. When the heavens intend to liberate you, they first allow you to experience setbacks. Adversity is not destruction, but an opportunity for rebirth. The warbler gazed at the ancient pine tree and suddenly felt a mysterious resonance with it. He recalled the days of luxurious living, the loving care of his parents, the tenderness of his wife, and the laughter of his children, all drifting away like fleeting clouds, piercing his heart like a knife. In this lifetime, I pursued fame and fortune, believing it would bring honor to my ancestors, yet I never considered that life held another possibility, to find joy in the way like a firefly, with tears glistening in my eyes. It is precisely because the young master has this awakening that he is a destined person. Venerable Jingxin said, if the heavens intend to save you, they will give you 5 types of reminders. You have already comprehended the first type of frustration and hardship, and paid attention to the 5 reminders by looking up. What else is there? The second kind of reminder is to encounter a wise teacher, a serene master, and firmly rely on them. When you lose your way and do not know where to turn, there will naturally be someone to guide you and illuminate the path. Just as Liu Ying was about to ask further, a low chant of sutras suddenly came from outside the hut. Footsteps gradually faded into silence. An elderly monk with white hair and a kind face slowly entered the thatched hut. He wore a brown kasaya and held a fly whisk, exuding an extraordinary aura. Amitabha Buddha. Just as the old monk was about to speak, he was gently interrupted by Bhikshuni Jingxin raising her hand. Master Wukong, I hope you have been well. Bhikshuni Jingxin smiled gently, having come specifically for this matter. The old monk's gaze was as sharp as a torch, scrutinizing Liu Ying, and it was indeed him. Long years have passed since we last met, yet the Bhikshuni still wears fragrant hair and adorned face. This humble monk has come precisely to seek a destined person. Master Jingxing rose to welcome him, saying, "Please follow me. I have something to discuss with you. Heaven truly intends to save me," stirring waves in my heart. Reflecting on the trials of my life, from being entrusted with great hopes since childhood, diligently studying, rising with pride upon success, to feeling utterly despondent in failure. Now having fallen to this state, is it misfortune or blessing? Who can say for certain? After a moment, Master Jingxin and the old monk walked out of the inner chamber together. The old monk looked at Liu Ying and asked, "Almsman, did you have a dream today?" Liu Ying straightened up, and a recurring dream flashed through his mind, a dream that often visited him at night. In the dream, I stood atop a lofty mountain peak, surrounded by a sea of rolling clouds, with a bright full moon hanging high in the sky, radiating boundless light. Under the moonlight, a celestial maiden holding a willow branch smiled at me, gently waving the willow and sprinkling sweet dew. Whenever the nectar falls upon me, I feel a refreshing coolness, and all suffering vanishes. At this point, Liu Ying noticed that both Venerable Jingxin and the old monk wore expressions of profound significance, as if the dream held some special meaning. The old monk exchanged a word with Venerable Jingxin and nodded slightly. The Venerable Jingxin spoke softly. "This is the third kind of warning from the Heavenly Lord, an unusual dream concerning the matter. Sincerity of heart brings efficacy. What is seen in dreams often serves as a subtle guidance from the unseen realm." A sudden shock ran through Liu Ying's heart. Could the dream also be a warning? The old monk asked, "Master, do you still remember the appearance of the celestial Buddha from your dream?" Liu Ying closed her eyes and tried hard to recall the scenes from her dream. The celestial maiden's countenance was serene, with compassion radiating from between her brows. Her eyes were clear and pure like water, and the corners of her mouth held a gentle, subtle smile. Isn't this just Liu Ying opening his eyes, casting his gaze upon the statue of Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva in the humble hut, and surprisingly discovering that the appearance of the celestial maiden in his dream bore a striking resemblance, 7 or 8 points, to that of the Bodhisattva statue? Resembling the Bodhisattva statue in some ways, Liu Ying exclaimed, "Amitabha." The old monk joined his hands in a gesture of reverence, smiled slightly, and said, "The benefactor's understanding is extraordinary. This is the fourth kind of divine reminder from the heavens, the enlightenment bestowed by gods and Buddhas." Liu Ying felt his mind in a fog. Everything that had happened tonight was beyond his comprehension, and there were 4 kinds of reminders. May I ask what the 5th type of reminder is? Venerable Sister Jingxin and the old monk exchanged a smile, their eyes shimmering with a mysterious light, yet neither replied immediately. At that moment, a strange, refreshing breeze blew in through the window, causing the comforting candlelight to flicker and waver uncertainly. Amidst the wind, there seemed to be an ethereal sound, like the divine melody of the heavens drifting into Liu Ying's ears. The voice spoke words he could not comprehend, yet astonishingly brought peace to his mind and spirit, as if immersed in a warm spring, his entire body relaxed and comforted. The mysterious sound of the wind gradually faded away, and the light within the hermitage shone brightly once again. Liu Ying felt a strange power flowing throughout his entire body, his mind seemingly purified, both enlightened and yet still caught in a state of confusion. What is this power? Liu Ying's voice trembled slightly. Could this be the 5th kind of warning? Sister Jingxin smiled faintly. The 5th kind of reminder came right at this critical moment, when suddenly outside the hermitage, a rapid sound of horse hooves and rough shouts were heard. The wooden door of the thatched hut was suddenly flung open, and 5 or 6 fully armed soldiers burst in. Leading them was a captain clad in armor, his face fierce and grim. Acting under the command of the governor, conduct a search for those harboring rebels. Someone reported a case, claiming that this place harbors fugitives wanted by the imperial court. The squad leader shouted loudly, drawing a long knife from its sheath, its cold gleam flashing. Bystanders quickly stand against the wall and do not move. A sudden shock gripped Liu Ying's heart, and a cold sweat instantly soaked her back. He was once a successful candidate in the imperial examinations, but now that there's only one ruler in the court, his old officials have naturally become rebels. If their identities are discovered, their lives will be at risk. He instinctively looked towards Venerable Jingxin and the old monk, but was surprised to find both of them calm and composed, as if they existed beyond beginning and end. What shocked Liu Ying even more was that during the search, the soldiers' gazes completely bypassed the spot where Venerable Jingxin and the old monk were seated, as if no one were there at all. The captain even passed right by the old monk, as if passing through air, completely unnoticed. Liu Ying's eyes widened in disbelief at what she saw. Those two were clearly sitting right there, so why did others pretend not to see them? Is this an illusion or a miracle? At that moment, Liu Ying and Venerable Jingxin's eyes met. He clearly saw Sister Jingxin smiling gently at the corner of her mouth, her eyes sparkling with a mysterious light. He gently made a close-hand gesture towards her, then silently uttered a few words. Liu Ying focused her mind and carefully observed, clearly discerning his lip movements. This was the fifth type of reminder. A wave of indescribable shock swept through Liu Ying's entire body. He suddenly realized that he was personally experiencing a miraculous event beyond the mundane realm. After the soldiers finished their search and departed, Liu Ying regained consciousness and found that Venerable Jingxin and the old monk were still sitting peacefully in their original places, as if everything that had just happened was an illusion. "I understand clearly," the Venerable Jingxin gently asked. "The fifth type of reminder is the manifestation of a miracle." Liu Ying asked in shock, "Why couldn't those soldiers just now see the two of you?" The old monk explained, "It is not that they cannot see, but their hearts are without self. Therefore they do not perceive me." Master Jingxin added that the subtlety between heaven and earth is beyond words, and all supernatural powers and transformations arise from the mind itself. You are able to see us because you have an affinity with the Buddha Dharma. Those soldiers, whose hearts are filled only with the intention of pursuit and capture, are therefore unable to see us. This is the true essence of the fifth kind of reminder. Even the miraculous signs witnessed with one's own eyes serve only to remind you to turn inward and reflect upon your own mind. The venerable monk said that external miracles are nothing but flowers in a mirror, the moon in water. The crucial point lies in whether your heart is truly moved. Liu Ying seemed thoughtful, reflecting on his own experiences, the setbacks of losing his family and home, encountering a master like Jingxin, the visions in his dreams, the guidance of Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, and the miracle he had just witnessed. It all seemed to be arranged by a mysterious, unseen force. The meditative nun Liu Ying seemed to have an insight and asked, "Do you know who I am?" Liu Ying hesitated for a moment, not daring to speak directly. The elderly monk recited beside him, "Namo, greatly merciful and compassionate Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva." Liu Ying suddenly realized with clear understanding, knelt down and kowtowed, saying, "This disciple is dull-witted and failed to recognize the holy appearance of the Bodhisattva earlier." Venerable Master Jingxin, an incarnation of Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, gently touched Liu Ying's head, requiring no formalities. "Today I manifest to tell you and all beings connected by fate that when the heavens send salvation, there are always signs. Yet whether one is truly saved depends entirely on oneself." Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva provided a detailed explanation of the profound meanings behind these 5 reminders. The first kind of reminder is setbacks and hardships. The Diamond Sutra states that all conditioned phenomena are like a dream, an illusion, a bubble, or a shadow. Worldly glory and wealth are but fleeting illusions. Only through experiencing setbacks can one understand the true meaning of life. Just as the lotus arises untainted from the mud, only through enduring suffering can one truly comprehend the truth. Adversity and trials are, in essence, a form of spiritual testing. The venerable monk added, "The Buddhist sutras say supreme enlightenment is found only in the mind." Both favorable and adverse external conditions serve as nourishment for spiritual practice. Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara nodded and said, "Exactly so." People often lament the injustice of fate, unaware that adversity is precisely the opportunity for transformation. Extreme conditions inevitably reverse, and from utmost difficulty comes great ease. Only when you lose external support will you seek strength within. It is only through enduring the torment of suffering that one begins to contemplate the value of life. Setbacks are not the end, but the beginning of a new rebirth. Like the ancient pine struck by lightning and broken, it instead gains a renewed life. The second reminder is to encounter an enlightened teacher. The Dhammapada says, associating with good friends is like drinking sweet nectar, while avoiding good friends is like drinking poison. A wise teacher can guide you through confusion, leading you toward the right path. But remember, the master can only lead you to the door. Cultivation depends on the individual. Even when encountering a wise teacher, without humility and a sincere attitude to learn, one cannot receive the true transmission. A true master is not necessarily a revered monk or a highly virtuous elder. Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara continued, sometimes appearing as an ordinary elder, capable of guiding you when you are lost and offering hope when you are in despair. Encountering a wise teacher is not accidental, but a predestined arrangement beyond our understanding. When you are ready to learn, the teacher will naturally appear. Liu Ying respectfully listened and then asked, "What is the meaning of the third type of reminder spoken by the Bodhisattva, the omen revealed through an unusual dream?" Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva smiled and said, "Dreams are the language of the mind." The Sarangama Sutra states that one should understand that both Bodhi and Nirvana are merely names and forms within a dream. What is seen in dreams often reflects the inner state of your own mind. When the heavens intend to guide you, they sometimes reveal signs through dreams. If you dream of me eating the sweet dew of lamb, it is a sign that the nectar of the Dharma will nourish your heart. In dreams, one often accesses levels of the mind that are ordinarily beyond reach. Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva explained that in our waking state, we are bound by worldly perceptions, entrapped by sensory desires, making it difficult to perceive the call of the soul. In dreams, these bonds are temporarily released, allowing us to receive messages from higher consciousness. Therefore, a different dream is not only a reminder, but also a bridge leading to the innermost true self. The fourth type of reminder is divine enlightenment by gods and Buddhas. Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara continued, the Yogacara Sutra states, as the mind becomes peaceful, so too does the Buddha field become peaceful. As your mind gradually becomes pure, you will naturally feel the blessings of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Such inspiration may come from a Buddha's name heard by chance, a sutra obtained through a fortuitous opportunity, or, as you have witnessed, an unexpected encounter with a Buddha statue. The strokes and marks of deities and Buddhas may seem mysterious, but they actually originate from the resonance of one's own mind. Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara further elucidated that when a person's mind attains a certain level of purity, it can resonate with all beings and phenomena of the universe. At this moment, even a fallen leaf or the cry of a bird can become the key to awakening wisdom. Enlightenment is not something external, but a confident awakening. It is not passively received, but actively realized. Liu Ying further inquired about the fifth characteristic mentioned by the Bodhisattva, the manifestation of miraculous signs, and how it should be understood. Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva kindly replied that miraculous signs are merely skillful means, guiding sentient beings into the mirror of Buddhahood. The Lotus Sutra states, "All phenomena possess one true nature. There is no duality in dharmas." Supernatural transformations are merely the wondrous functions of one's own intrinsic nature. True miracles do not lie in external extraordinary phenomena, but in the awakening of your inner mind. Just like those ice spikes earlier, the old monk said, although they are present here, they cannot see the Bodhisattva. This in itself is a kind of miraculous phenomenon. More importantly, this reminds you that only when there is Buddha in the heart can there be Buddha in the eyes. Only when there is the way in the heart can there be the way in the eyes. Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara nodded and said, "People often cling to seeking divination and praying to gods, hoping to change their fate through external miracles. What is often overlooked is that the greatest miracle is the transformation of the mind. When your heart is filled with compassion and wisdom, the world around you will also change accordingly. Those who cannot see us are not because we are invisible, but because their hearts are clouded by hatred and attachment. Only a clear and pure mind can perceive the true world." These 5 types of reminders all actually point to a single goal: awakening your confidence. The Heart Sutra states, "Perceive clearly that the 5 aggregates are empty. All external reminders merely serve to help you perceive self-confidence." After hearing the Bodhisattva's teaching, Liu Ying felt as if a Sudan nectar had been poured over her, and her heart was suddenly enlightened and radiant. He respectfully asked, "I have understood the 5 kinds of reminders given by the old heavens to save people, but how should one respond to these reminders in order to truly attain liberation?" Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva gently replied, "Sincerity of heart brings efficacy. First and foremost, one must cultivate a sincere and devout heart, maintaining reverence for heaven and earth. Secondly, one must have an awakened mind capable of discerning these reminders. Thirdly, one must have a courageous heart, daring to let go of attachments and follow the flow of conditions. Fourth, cultivate a compassionate heart, seeking not only your own liberation, but also aiding others in their awakening. Ultimately, one must possess a steadfast and unwavering heart, persist in practice, and never abandon it halfway. Remember, cultivation is not in external practices, but in the nature of the mind." Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva follows the teachings. Whatever path you choose, the key is to maintain a heart that is pure, compassionate, and wise. True cultivation is manifested in daily life. A true practitioner can find enlightenment in the mundane tasks of daily life and realize Zen through the complexities of human relationships. Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva finally said, "The path of practice is long and arduous, but as long as you recognize these 5 reminders and respond with the right mindset, whether you follow Buddhism, Taoism, or Confucianism, you will receive the favor of the heavenly way and ultimately attain liberation." Amitabha Buddha. The venerable monk recited the Buddha's name once, and the Bodhisattva, with compassion, began the path to liberation for sentient beings. Liu Ying prostrated once again, tears of gratitude streaming down her face. When he looked up, he found the humble hut had become empty, with only the statue of Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva still seated in the center, compassionately smiling. Only then did Liu Ying realize that the silent mind nun and the old monk he had just encountered were both manifestations of Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, appearing to enlighten him. Since then, Liu Ying distanced himself from the worldly clamor and built a small temple in that valley, dedicating his days to chanting sutras, reciting the Buddha's name, and practicing Zen meditation to attain awakening. He no longer clings to worldly honor, disgrace, gain, and loss, but instead devotes himself earnestly to cultivation and broadly forms virtuous connections. It is said that later, many lost souls came to this small temple, and Liu Ying would always recount the origin of Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, telling them the 5 heavenly reminders for saving sentient beings, helping them find their life's direction. Years later, on a stormy night, Liu Ying once again saw the figure of Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva while in deep meditation. The Bodhisattva smiled gently, holding a willow branch, sprinkling sweet dew upon him. Liu Ying understood in his heart that this was the omen of what he was about to receive. Indeed, on the morning of the fourth day, the disciples in the temple discovered a painting of Liu Ying before the Buddha's statue, with a smiling face, as if having experienced supreme bliss. This story spread widely and became known as the tale of Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, regarded as a cherished narrative within the Buddhist tradition. The teachings of Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva say that when the heavens intend to save you, they will give you 5 kinds of reminders. You must pay close attention to them, as they have become guidance for many practitioners. For centuries, countless individuals have been awakened by this, beginning to pay attention to the various manifestations of life, thereby embarking on the path of enlightenment. Regardless of the circumstances we find ourselves in, or the faith we adhere to, when we learn to listen to the voice within and decipher the codes of life, we can find our own path amidst the complexities of the world. Heaven rewards diligence. The Buddha saves those with karmic affinity. The true essence of practice lies not in the pursuit of miraculous powers, but in the evolution of the mind, not in escaping reality, but in transforming suffering, not in external forms, but in inner awakening. When adversity arrives, it may well be the beginning of a turning point. When a wise teacher appears, approach with humility and seek their guidance earnestly. When a dream arises, it is worthwhile to deeply contemplate its meaning. When enlightened by gods or Buddhas, one should hold gratitude in their heart. When miraculous signs appear, one must reflect even more deeply on one's own mind. After all, the greatest miracle is not the transformation of the external world, but the awakening of the inner world. The deepest wisdom is not the recitation of scriptures, but the realization of truth. The highest state is not to transcend the mundane world, but to cultivate a pure and tranquil mind within it. Perhaps you, who are reading this story at this moment, have already received a reminder from the heavens, but have yet to become aware of it. May you, on the journey of life, be mindful of every possible sign, listen to every call from within, and ultimately find the path of liberation that belongs to you.